Welcome to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with all the resources you need to become a successful author. You can learn more about Authors Unite and join the free community at authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner, and today I have Joel Drazner with us. He is a resilience coach. So welcome to the show, Joel.
Nice to be here, Tyler. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. We'll dive in, Joel. The first question I have for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Because I've been wrestling with this exact same concept lately. Once I learned what I learned that you would refer to as my underlying message, all the stories of my life became irrelevant in that there was no longer a need for a before and after type story. What I learned was the truth of who I am. And when I knew that, then the only thing that counted was this present moment. And I know that can sound like a lot of gobbledygook, but I think as we go along, it'll become clearer what I'm saying.
And what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that is within your expertise or industry?
It's something that transcends even the concept of industry. It's a message about life itself, and it's what I help clients with individually, what I speak to groups about as well. It's about knowing who we truly are on this planet. And while, of course, as human beings, there's 7.5 billion different ones of us going through the world in our separate reality, so to speak. But if we look a little deeper, each one of us knows on some level that we are all actually part of one shared being having 7.5 billion different human experiences.
And what is your best piece of overall business advice, and not necessarily industry specific?
Well, when I help people in whatever field that they're in understand that their lives and the stories that they struggle with seem to settle down so rapidly that in that clear space, they start to have insights into how they can solve their particular business problems, sometimes problems that save their businesses an awful lot of money. And if it doesn't necessarily save them money right off the bat, it creates a happier working environment because they no longer see the conflicts as a result of things that need to change in their environment, or the people that they associate with don't have to act differently in order for them to have a full and content, happy experience of their working situation.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
I would tell my younger self not to get caught up in what I like to call insecuriosity. And that's the ever-present search for a method to better oneself, a method to be happier, a method to be more successful than one is right now, or some sort of coping mechanism with the situations in life that seem to cause stress and anxiety. What people need to know is that there's not a point B in space and time that's different from where they're standing right now that's better. Where they are is endowed 100% with absolute happiness, unconditional loving, true self-confidence, and the ability to overcome any situation that presents itself that looks like a hurdle or obstacle. It's already there. It's factory installed inside them. They don't need a method to get there.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to your answer on this next one then. In your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
The key to happiness is knowing that you already have it, no matter what your surface experience is. You don't need to build a bridge from yourself to happiness because you're already standing within it.
And what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
Well, I've read so many books in my long lifetime, but a current one that has really struck a chord with me happened to be written by somebody who later became a colleague. It's called The Path of No Resistance by a sports coach who teaches kind of the same ideas that I coach from. His name is Garrett Kramer. And that book really impacted me because it really taught me that there were no need for methods, coping interventions, or any type of externalized procedure in order to get to a better place in life. It's pretty much in line with what I just said previously.
And what's your favorite quote and why?
One of my all-time favorite quotes comes from an old-time humorist who used to write for the New Yorker magazine. His name was Robert Benchley. And he said, I think I'm quoting exactly, "The world can be divided into two types of people. Those who divide the world into two types of people and those who don't." And I love that, not only because it just tickles my funny bone. It really highlights in a very clear way that the human capacity for thought can come up with endless made up on the spot divisions for how we view the world.
Yes.
And it's arbitrary and it seems really real. But if you really look behind that, you will see that we are really all one shared being, having this unlimited number of human experiences.
Yes, man. Thank you so much for coming on. The last question I have for you before we let you go is, where's the best place for people to find you online?
They can keep it real simple. They could reach me at joel@joeldrazner.com, JOELDRAZNER. If they go to my website, it's under reconstruction right now, but they can certainly contact me through that or through the email address I just left you.
Perfect. Thanks again for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tyler. Really appreciate it myself.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.